Welcome to the Homeschool Show from North Carolinians for Home Education. I'm Amanda Wayers, one of your hosts today, and I have with me Melanie Willis. Hey, Melanie.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good today. I hope you are.
Doing very well. I know outside right now, I still have some ice and snow. Do you?
I have a lot of snow. Yes, I have a considerable amount of snow.
It's so crazy. So now I'm over it. We've had our one good snow and now I'm done. We don't need any more.
I love snow and I would love to have more. However, I am leaving for major family vacation with all of my kids and there appears to be more snow coming and that's not good.
No.
So, what do you have for us today?
All right. Well, first up, we have a homeschool conversation. Back in the fall, some of us were at National Homeschool Leaders Conference in Nashville, and Matthew McDill had a few conversations with some different people. I had a few conversations with some different people. We're going to share those with you over these next few weeks and months. This first one up, Matthew was talking to Anna Maria Bagnuoli, who is a leader in the Hispanic homeschool community, and she had some great things to share. So we are going to take a listen to that conversation.
Sounds wonderful.
I'm here with Anna Maria Bagnuoli at the HSLDA Leaders Conference. We're having a great time. And we've been able to talk a little bit about some of the very important work they're doing for reaching Hispanic homeschool families, which is a really big need.
Yes,
right?
It's huge. Yes, we're very honored to be able to do that. And we have, in fact, been doing it for 3 years now.
Okay.
So we have seen the progress, the growth, the need is still there, many things that need to be addressed, and a lot of education for the parents. We really need a strong foundation for the Hispanic parents so that they understand and we can come to an understanding of what truly home education means.
And what's the organization overall that you're working with?
Well, we founded Transition Ed in 2017.
Transition Ed. Okay.
We are just a family ministry, but then it has enlarged as the years go by. It started with my home, with my own children and my husband. We shared about homeschooling. We were the weird homeschooling parents in the Hispanic community at that time. So we were kind of like pointed out, and then in 2019, we became an example and people were just seeking our help desperately. But the need was always there. We always saw it as a family because the Hispanic community didn't know much. So we founded Transition in 2017 with the sole intention of sharing, I will say, the gospel of homeschooling to them. And that's how we began, just as a family. And then when 2019 hits and many people go home, we were able to direct them and mentor them and share some of the history of home education. We walked with them. And after that, in 2021, we decided to do the first homeschooling convention in Spanish. So that was a huge deal for the Hispanic community because it had never been done. And the Lord really put all the pieces together to make that happen. So after 2021, obviously we expanded. Now we've reached communities not only in Florida, which we're based off from, but we reach other states and other countries. Mm-hmm. And all we do is mentor the parent, encourage the parent, but also connect the parent to the tools they're going to need to build what we call an education by design, by following the original design, the biblical worldview of home education. So everything we do obviously is homeschool related, but it has to be rooted in the original creator of home education. Mm-hmm. So it becomes almost like a way of teaching the word every single time. Mm-hmm. So it's really exciting. We always see ahead what God is going to do next.
So I don't know the exact statistics right now, but I understand that more recently there's been a more dramatic growth among Hispanic families to choose homeschooling. Is that right?
Absolutely. I can speak for the let's say our statistics, our numbers.
Yep.
really show that it has rapidly expanded almost to the point that people are just jumping into homeschooling, maybe without not even understanding, but they want the benefits. They see the fresh water, they just want to jump into the water, right? And with that, obviously, we celebrate, and we celebrate that maybe by the hundreds they're coming every single, I won't say the month, but maybe every 6 months, we see hundreds of people, not only locally, but internationally, reaching to us and trying to find co ops where to start learning about home education. So it's exciting to see the growth, but again, you have to teach the parents from scratch where this comes from, what is it for, and of course, enjoy those benefits that comes with it. But we are raising a next generation, so there's always have to be this mentality of a generational thing that we're passing on. So the numbers from our standing point right now will be they have tripled,
Okay.
and sometimes it's too much to handle
Sure.
because of the need there is, but also because of the lack of resources. So one of our jobs is to provide resources. They could be bilingual. Many of the families are bilingual, and others are only in Spanish. But our job is to call out on all those people that have already created resources, because it's surprising to us that there's already resources out there that we don't know about, but that people in Colombia, Brazil, Argentina, they have created their own. They have been homeschooling, I say, in the caves without being noticed. And now they're coming out from those caves. And now they're even being ambassadors to their governments, speaking about home education in their Latin American countries, which have no laws to go by, truly. So they're writing their history, which is super exciting, because here in the United States, we have laws that protect us and kind of protect the freedoms of the parents. But in many of our countries, that's not the case. So we don't know what's coming, but we have seen armies of parents, groups of people getting organized to present these to their governments and start opening a path for the generations to come.
So the people that the families that you're supporting, how many of them are outside of the United States? And not how many, but percentage-wise, is that most of the people, or also
I will
within?
say, in our case particular,
Yep.
we're like a 50-50 ministry. So like 50% of the families we help are here,
Okay.
and the other ones are from other countries. So we have created ways in which we can support them, because again, the way they develop homeschooling there is different from here. So one of the key things that we always do is put them in touch with HSLDA, with previous resources that already have paved a path for them, so that they can speed up their processes. And then with the families here, we always guide them, not only the legal side, but always, I think, let me go back a little bit. I think one thing that is very much needed, no matter if it's local or international, is the biblical principle of everything we do. So a lot of our work just goes back to, why are you doing this? Where is the foundation? And that applies here or in any country. The principle will not change. Now, the form of how we present that will. And the Hispanic community is at that point where they have understood that the parent is the first educator. But now they have to find forms and ways to express that in their communities.
I love that. It's so interesting to hear from the Hispanic community. And I feel like, especially here in North Carolina, in the last few years, I feel like we have seen just a surge of Hispanic homeschoolers. And I think that's so interesting and wonderful.
Yes, I think we have a pretty good wide variety of different ethnicities that we've seen. I know I've had some conversations lately with some new homeschoolers, and I'm really glad that we did start up our own multicultural liaison a couple of years ago, and we do have that available for those that wish to utilize it. And I think it's a great thing that everybody wants to utilize homeschooling.
I do too. It's so neat. And I'm so glad that there's resources out there to help, because in some ways, these communities, Hispanic or the Black community, homeschooling community, or Asian, in some ways, they're kind of just starting out. as a community in homeschooling. And so sometimes the resources that they need might be a little bit different than the resources of other communities. So I think that's great. I do want to make sure to point out to all of you, like what you just said, Melanie, we do have at NCHE a multicultural liaison, Luz Velasquez, and she is wonderful. She is such a valuable resource. She would love to talk to you. So if you are getting started with homeschooling, or maybe you've been homeschooling and you'd like to talk to somebody, she is there for you. So please utilize that resource. It's really a great one.
Yes. I'd also like to point out that, not only multicultural, but all kinds of special needs and everything. If you check out our website at nche.com, whatever you feel like is the area that is a struggle for you to start homeschooling and you feel like it would keep you from being able to do that confidently, please, check out the website, reach out to us if you don't see what it is that you're looking for, because we really have a lot of resources available to help everyone be able to homeschool with confidence and joy.
Exactly. So good.
Yes.
All right. So
Amanda, I have some questions for you.
Oh,
Are you ready for it? Okay.
I'm ready. Let's
So
go.
we are headed back to what we've seen on the internet. Are you ready?
Always an exciting time. Let's go. What have we
And we've talked about this because this is a question that is weekly, if not daily, that I see popping up on our homeschool newsfeed. And that is parents that are concerned that their first language is not English. And are they going to have struggles homeschooling efficiently?
Right. Yeah, I've seen this too. And I've even in a couple of mentor sessions that I've had, some people I've talked to in person, they really want so desperately to homeschool and to do a good job. Nobody wants to do a bad job homeschooling. And they're really afraid that because their first language is not English, they won't be able to effectively educate their kids. They won't be able to really just help them thrive. And so, what do we do with that? For one, I would say, in my experience with Luz, I know she homeschools bilingually with her son, Carlos Cesar, and they speak in Spanish a lot, but they also do some in English. And I know her son is 10, 11, somewhere around there. And his English is fantastic. And he is not missing out at all, so I would say, just anecdotally, the people that I know that have had bilingual households, they have done just fine.
Yes.
Another thing that I would say is there are so many resources out there that if you feel like there's an area, English, phonics, that would be a struggle for you, there are resources out there that either have a video or audio, or even just instructions that'll tell you explicitly what to say. So there are a lot of resources out there that really will support families, parents, if that's a struggle for you. So one, I would say, if there's an area of struggle, there are resources. Two, I would also encourage those families, if that's a concern for you, maybe reach out and try and find a co-op or some kind of outside class that might be going on in English. And that could be a real helpful resource as well.
Right.
So
I was really going to say, do not attempt to go things alone, as I would tell all homeschoolers. Never try to do this alone. Reach out, at least have someone that you can confide in and talk to about it and bounce ideas around, because we don't need to do anything in this life alone, let alone homeschooling our children. And don't give up. we can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the last thing I was going to say about that was do search, and you can always come to us. Email me, helps@nche.com. I have been trying to compile kind of a list of bilingual or multilingual homeschooling resources. So as different ethnicities, different people that speak different languages are starting to homeschool more and more, resources are starting to be published more and more in other languages as well. I know there's some Chinese resources that I found, some Hispanic resources that I found. So definitely just look around. Google is our friend sometimes. And I'm going to try to start posting some of those resources on NCHE's website as well. So
excellent. Yeah. Okay. So moving on, Amanda, what do you have this week for our Homeschool Helps with Amanda?
So this is another thing that I know if you are on any kind of social media, any kind of homeschooling platform out there, you will hear about this as well. Outsourcing. Is it a friend or a foe? And I know we just talked about a situation that it could be a friend. In some circumstances, I think outsourcing is fabulous. And in other circumstances, I think it could be not so good. So the answer is, it depends. I know even in my own homeschool, there have been times that outsourcing a certain subject that maybe was weak for me. For example, writing. I love to write my own self, but teaching the process of writing has been really difficult for me with my kids. And so I have chosen to outsource that particular subject with all 4 of my kids. I have a dear friend who that is her profession. Before she was a homeschooler, she was a journalist, and she taught all of my older kids writing and did so fabulously. And it worked out so beautifully for my kids, for her. It was a wonderful experience. Now, there have been some other times with my youngest son that I outsourced, but the motivation was because I was just tired. I was just worn out. And I thought, he's the last one. He should be more independent. I'm going to outsource everything. And that was a disaster. So the motivation behind it, he was not ready for that level of independence. I did not enjoy having every part of our homeschool in somebody else's hands. That did not work out nicely for us. So I would say outsourcing can be wonderful, but I would, before you do that, check in your own heart. What is your motivation for it? And if it turns out to not be a good situation, don't be afraid to pull back and say, oh, this is not working. Just like anything in homeschool, this is not working. Time to pivot. So,
right. Well, and we've talked about that before because we've both said that the things that we felt like we were strong at teaching or strong at doing was harder to teach. And I know for me, my mind is like, I don't understand why they can't understand this. And that made it difficult for me to teach. It made it difficult for me to pull back. And so I could definitely see the times that I needed to get someone else to help us. So that's really good.
Yeah.
So news for NCHE. What do we have right now, Amanda?
Well, this is not NCHE news in particular, but it is current event news today, as this episode is going out. It is Inauguration Day. And I don't know if you have ever done this in your homeschool, Melanie, but I know 4 years ago, and maybe 8 years ago too, I've been homeschooling a really long time. We 100% used Inauguration Day as a part of our homeschool. We
Yes.
watched the inauguration. We talked about kind of the process and, it's a great way to use some real life current events as a part of your homeschool.
That's right. There's a lot of things that we teach that they might not come across, but that particular part of life is going to happen for them. And it is important. And we have always taught during the elections, before the elections, what's happening, election day, keeping maps, and they could fill out the maps based on what votes were coming in. And then, watching the inauguration and discussing the history of things that have happened before. So that's a great idea for learning on location in your home.
Exactly. And look around. I know I saw just last night that a curriculum provider, that's wonderful, one of my favorites, Beautiful Feet Books, they have a free inauguration little unit study kind of thing that you could download if you want some ideas about learning more from the inauguration.
Good. That's awesome. That's really good.
All right. So with NCHE news.
Yes. So we are coming up very quickly on time that you get to pre-register for Thrive. And you'll definitely want to look for that and do that pre-registration in order to get the best price for coming in. And as I've mentioned before, you can go ahead now and book the hotels because those slots are already starting to fill up. And the other thing, I wanted to ask you some questions, Amanda, about the trades fair, because I know we need to get some more applications for that.
Yes. So the trades fair we started last year, NCHE has had a college fair for years and years. And a year ago, we were thinking, not everybody goes to college. Not every student should go to college. And what about those kids and families that are leaning towards the trade path? And we really wanted to provide a resource for them to be able to check out different kinds of trades, and that the companies that were represented could meet some homeschoolers. So maybe if there's companies out there that you might have an apprentice program. I know there are some HVAC companies that do apprenticeships here in North Carolina, some plumbing companies, whatever, electrician, all of those things. And then there are some trades that you might not even think about that I didn't, like becoming a midwife is one. There are all different kinds that don't necessarily require a 4-year education or going to college, and so many opportunities out there. So if you are a company, if you know of a company that would be great in our trades fair, we want them to apply and be represented. And as you're thinking about coming to Thrive, keep that in mind. The trades fair is on Saturday of the conference. So Saturday, May 24th from 10 to 1.
Where do they go to apply for this?
If you go on the front page of NCHE, scroll down a little bit, and it'll say vendor applications. On that vendor page, there is a spot to click for the trades fair application.
Very good. That's wonderful.
Absolutely.
And so then lastly, coming up on Thrive, we also offer every year a graduation ceremony for anyone in the state that will be graduating. And so you can also go on the website to Graduation Central and sign up now if you want your child to participate in the graduation ceremony at Thrive.
Yes, absolutely. It is such a wonderful ceremony. I encourage you to take part in it. It's fabulous.
It's my favorite part.
I love it too so much. I love it. All right. I think that's all we have for you today. From Melanie and I, please continue to homeschool with confidence and joy. And we'll see you next time.